I am live here on the digital battle bus right now, but we had a few problems on Sunday. You probably saw us in the news, some videos went viral. One of the funniest questions they asked me was, can I see some identification? And later someone on YouTube commented that all they had to do was look behind me because there's a big piece of identification with my face and my name on it. This seemed very political because the police stopped us, detained us, and fined us, and then banned us from campaigning, which is why we drafted this letter from my legal team. It's a 5-page letter. It explained why we are following the letter of the law and why it's important that we campaign, because I believe in free and fair elections. I believe in the democratic process. And if you don't know about your candidate, how can you choose on May 6th? We've already had a mayor in City Hall that's been unelected for the past year. Nobody elected him, and he is ruling our city without our vote and consent, and that concerns me. We're coming at you live, and I'm gonna get your questions right now because it's very important that I hear from you. This is a new way of transparent campaigning. No other candidate can do what I'm doing, and that's why we're going to win on May 6th, of course, with your help and support. And again, we're going through right now in Redbridge, in Havering, in Waltham Forest, in Hackney, and we're really finding out what's going on the ground. And Hackney has seen the biggest average increase in house prices in the country in the last 20 years, in the entire country. No one is thinking about these people, no one is providing them homes, and the mayor's not talking about this, and I'm out here in these boroughs right now talking to you about it. There's a lot of land that we can put modular housing on today and solve these problems quickly. Why isn't that being talked about by our two-party system? Well, that's another discussion. We've got 32 boroughs in this city, and everyone has different challenges no matter where you are. I'm coming to every single borough, and I want to hear from you.
1, 2, 3, listen.
Welcome to the Brian for Mayor Digital Battle Bus. Welcome to Battle Bus Live. I am Brian Rose, and we are live here on the Brian for Mayor Digital Battle Bus. We are literally touring through London as we speak. Today, we've been in the boroughs of Hackney, Waltham Forest, Redbridge, Havering, and of course, also Newham. So it's been a massive borough tour. I'm looking at my window right now. We got a beautiful green park behind me. Hopefully you can see a lot of the scenery happening. I was at the Olympic Park today. I was at the big ArcelorMittal tower that they built for the Olympics. The Aquatic Center was there. It was absolutely incredible. Of course, we went to the London Fields Lido, which is a really big Olympic-sized pool, which I actually trained at for my Ironman race in 2018. I actually went there and swam laps and got used to the whole thing. We cruised through Newham, where we saw the statue of the World Cup winners of 1966. This is a massive, massive statue. I think it's 2 times bigger than a human, and it was absolutely beautiful. So thank you, Newham, for that. And you know, South Woodford has always been a place in my heart because that's where my wife Mariana and my daughter Gabby were living when I met them. Gabby was about 7 years old at the time, and I used to take the Central line from Liverpool Street because I lived in Hackney in Old Street, and I would go out to South Woodford and I would walk and pick up Gabby, and that was our date. It was like me and Gabby, and we would go to Westfields at the Stratford tube stop, and we would go in there, and it was pretty new at the time, and Gabby and I would go to the food court. I teach her how to play chess, and sometimes I remember we used to buy an outfit for mom, and mom was busy, you know, working. She was working in retail on New Bond Street, and she'd come home, and sometimes Gabby and me would bring her like a dress or something. So I have really fond memories of these boroughs out here, great things happening. And you know, after that, of course, we all became one family, and Gabby and Mariana moved in with me, and of course, a little bit later, we've got 2 boys on the way, and that's my story of my family. And it actually starts in the outer boroughs of London, so it's great to be back here. You know, every borough of London is so different, and I think it's important as the next mayor of London to remember we've got 32 boroughs in this city, and everyone has different challenges no matter where you are, but I know we can find common goals in a way that we can all we can all find this to be the greatest city in the world. And so today I really want to talk a little bit more about housing and affordable housing. You know, depending on where you are on the scale of income, housing is always a challenge in this city. And I think if we build more affordable homes, it actually makes it more affordable for everyone to rent in this city. And I want to talk about some of my ideas today. But first, I want to bring you up to speed. I am live here on the Digital Battle Bus right now, but we had a few problems on Sunday. You probably saw us in the news. Some videos went viral because I was out campaigning in a COVID safe way. I was actually alone on a street talking into my phone, making a video for you, as you've seen me before so many times. And all of a sudden, 5 police vans appeared and I was surrounded by 10 City of London police officers. Now, this has never happened to me before. And of course, I had my big Brian for Mayor bus behind me. One of the funniest questions they asked me was, can I see some identification? And later, someone on YouTube commented that all they had to do was look behind me because there's a big piece of identification with my face and my name on it. And so, of course, I understand the police have a difficult job, and I respect them always for the difficult job they have, but this seemed very political because the police stopped us, detained us, and fined us, and then banned us from campaigning, which I just think is wrong, and I believe this was a political move. And a couple days later, the Metropolitan Police, a different police arm, stopped our bus and only allowed it to continue when I wasn't on the bus. And again, this all feels political, which is why we drafted this letter from my legal team. It's a 5-page letter that's gone out to the police commissioners in this city. That includes Dame Cressida Dick, Chief Constable Paul Crowther, and of course Commissioner Ian Dyson of the all different police departments here. And we explained why we are following the letter of the law and why it's important that we campaign, because I believe in free and fair elections. I believe in the democratic process. And if you don't know about your candidate, how can you choose on May 6th? We've already had a mayor in City Hall that's been unelected for the past year. Nobody elected him, and he is ruling our city without our vote and consent. And that concerns me, and it concerns me when they don't allow me to campaign. And so I ask that many campaigns and many people, including the Green Party and the Liberal Dems and others, actually get out there and campaign alongside of me. We have to do this now, and the elections must happen on May 6th. Even if they're by postal vote, it's still very, very important, and we look forward to making that happen. So we are back on the bus. We could be pulled over at any time. I just saw a police van. We think we've been followed a few times by police vans, but so far they're leaving us alone, and we appreciate that because they're respecting our rights to campaign and talk about you. By the way, this bus is a completely 100% COVID secure. It has an antiviral fog that is placed inside this entire bus every single night. Everyone coming on the bus are temperature checked. They use hand sanitizers. My whole crew is masked up right now. The only reason I'm not wearing a mask is because I'm filming. These are the same protocols that are being used right now in London on film production sets. So we are using the same protocols. Again, that's why we should be allowed to continue to campaign in this city. And so I'm excited. We're coming at you live, and I'm going to get your questions right now because it's very important that I hear from you. This is a new way of transparent campaigning, and this is what I'm going to take to City Hall. It's your politicians being in communication with you. I bring digital channels with 5 million subscribers, over 500 million views, which means we can already have these conversations. No other candidate can do what I'm doing, and that's why we're going to win on May 6th, of course, with your help and support. So it's amazing. I met some people today that were just shouting over to me. We support you, Brian. We love you. We know you have our interests in heart. People from all ranges of society. It was just amazing. It always makes me feel good. So today I want to talk about housing, because we have a housing crisis here in London that our mayor has failed to address. For the past 5 years, he's promised more housing. He promised when he was elected in 2016 to build 80,000 houses per year, and that means he owes us about 400,000 new homes. He has started construction of only 34,000. He's delivered 12,000 homes in 5 years. That's 3% of what he promised. The national government gave him £4.8 billion in 2018. Where are the homes? Where's the money? We've never seen him deliver, and when he's asked about it, it's always someone else's fault. And so it's frustrating to me. It's probably just as frustrating to you. And today I want to talk about answers. But the truth is, I was just in the borough of Hackney, and Hackney is in desperate need of new homes. And if you look at some of the figures, they're just shocking. Housing is unaffordable for the majority of Hackney residents. I lived in Hackney for 10 years. My business was started in Hackney. It still resides in the borough of Hackney. And the average price of a home in Hackney has increased by 82% in the last 5 years. Imagine that, 82%. How can the regular person afford to buy or rent a home when that's happening? It's unacceptable. And Hackney has seen the biggest average increase in house prices in the country in the last 20 years, in the entire country. No one is thinking about these people. No one is providing them homes. And the mayor's not talking about this. And I'm out here in these boroughs right now talking to you about it. 33% of all households in Hackney are now living in overcrowded accommodations, and the statistics go on, and I want to talk about that today. Finally, I'm going to talk to you about my solution. I'm going to build 50,000 new homes by Christmas this year. Yes, you heard me correctly. That's Christmas this year. I'm going to have about 7 months after I am elected in the office to deliver, but I've already got top architects in London that are actually donating their time because they think this idea is world class. And they've contacted me and said, Brian, we love it. We want to help. We love this city. And we're sick and tired of empty promises from City Hall. We want a man that takes action. We believe in you, and we want to make this plan happen. There's a lot of land that we can put modular housing on today and solve these problems quickly. Why isn't that being talked about by our two-party system? Well, that's another discussion. I can make these changes because I'm an independent candidate. I can take action rapidly because I've been in the business sector. I've worked in industry for 30 years. I know how to hold people accountable. I know how to make a project not run over budget, unlike our current mayor. I've worked in automotive. I've worked in aerospace. I've worked in the City of London. I've worked in tech startup. I've worked in new media broadcasting. I've worked in digital education. I know how to get these things done. I know how to cut deals. I know how to make things happen, and that's what I'm going to do as your next mayor of London. But now I want to go to you and get your answers and get your questions from me. So wherever you're watching this now, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Periscope, we're everywhere right now. Tell me, first of all, if you're in London, what borough do you live in? And what is the question you want to ask me? I'm coming to every single borough and I want to hear from you. Second of all, do you think it was right for the police to detain us, to fine us, and then ban us from campaigning? Do you think that was right? And do you think it was politically motivated? Third question is, do you think that free and fair elections should take place on May 6th, and should we be allowed to campaign? And finally, I want you to ask this question or answer this question. Do you think we need new leadership, new ideas, and take London in a new direction? So submit your questions. I'm going to be going to them very, very quickly. But right now, I want to talk to you about the current state of housing here in London, because it really is at nightmare proportions and it's unacceptable. And I want to talk about housing. All right. Now, housing affects everyone. Matter of fact, it's for 67% of Londoners, it's their number one concern. How many of you, when you get the the bill for your rent or your mortgage payment every month, how many of you say, oh my gosh, that's a lot of money? For many of us, it's 20%, 30%, 40% of our after-tax income. It really hurts. And the problem is that when our mayor is not building more homes, it hurts all of us, no matter if you're in a high rent situation or a low rent situation. We've got to talk about it. And again, back in 2016, your mayor of London said, I'm going to build 80,000 new homes per year. 80,000 new homes per year. It's a quote. You can look it up. 5 years later, that means he owes us 400,000 new homes. Let's look at the figures. Since becoming mayor in May 2016, he's only started building 34,515 homes were started, with only 12,000 homes completed. These are real numbers here. That is 3% of what he promised. Sounds like a trend with him, delivering 3% of what he promised. Very similar when it comes to bankrupting the TfL or teenage knife crime at nightmare proportions. You know, everything he touches seems to fail. And it's no wonder that housing is our biggest issue here in London, because there's just no action being taken. And like I said, back in 2018, City Hall received £4.8 billion from the government. He was supposed to build 116,000 new homes by 2022. Well, last time I checked, it's 2021. So that means we need them by next year. I haven't seen a single new home, and I don't know what happened to that money. But let's be honest, he's not delivering. And Assembly member Andrew Boff recently said, and I quote, Sadiq Khan has been given a record amount of money. He should have been doing an awful lot more. People's housing needs are getting worse. There are more families living in overcrowded conditions, like in Hackney, and yet the mayor just issues statement after statement about wanting more government investment, unquote. More investment 4.8 billion pounds the government gave you. What have you done with it? I've seen nothing. And another quote, Robert Jenrick, UK's Secretary of State for Housing, said directly to the mayor, quote, housing delivery in London under your mayoralty has been deeply disappointing. Clearly, the housing delivery shortfall you have overseen has led to worsening affordabilities for Londoners, and things are not improving. These are directly from officials' mouths. And the truth is this: